Hey guys, this is Miss Sebastian. We're going to look at dividing fractions today. So the first thing on dividing fractions is that you keep the first fraction as it is. You change the divide to a multiply. And you change the 1/3 to its reciprocal. Okay, like I like to call it, nothing dot flop. Okay, then I'm going to look for anything that I can simplify before multiplying. So I can simplify my 3's because when they divide by 3, they simplify to 1. So now all I have to do is multiply across the top. 2 times 1 is 2, and 1 times 1 is 1. So my answer is 2 over 1, or just 2. Okay, then my next problem is question number 2. We're going to divide 7/8 by 2/3. So we're going to multiply 7/8 times the second fraction's reciprocal. Remember, that means flip the fraction. So 2 over 3 is the same as multiplying by 3 over 2. So now I look and there is nothing that I can simplify. So I'm going to multiply across the top. 7 times 3 is 21. And 8 times 2 is 16. Now I need to simplify this. 16 can go into 21 one time with 5 left over. So 5 is my numerator. And my denominator stays the same. So this one is 1 and 5/16. Number 3, 4/5 divided by 3/8. So we've got 4/5 times the reciprocal of 3/8, which is 8 over 3. There's nothing that I can simplify before multiplying. So I'm just going to multiply across the top. 4 times 8 is 32, and 5 times 3 is 15. So 15 can go into 32. 2 times, that's 30. So 32 minus 30 is 2 over the denominator, 15. Number 4, the first thing we're going to do is change this to an improper fraction. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Multiply by the reciprocal of 4/9, which is 9 over 4. And I do see that I can divide both 3 and 9 by 3. So 9 divided by 3 gives me 3, and 3 divided by 3 gives me 1. So now I can multiply. 7 times 3 gives me 21, and 1 times 4 gives me 4. 4 goes into 21 5 times with 1 left over, and I'll leave it over the denominator. Okay, let's look at question number 5. 3 and 1/3 divided by 3/8. So the first thing I'm going to do is change 3 and 1/3 to an improper fraction. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Multiply by the reciprocal of 3/8, which would be 8 over 3. Since there's nothing to simplify, I'm going to multiply across. 10 times 8 is 80 over 3 times 3, which is 9. 9 can go into 80 8 times with 8 left over, and the denominator stays the same. 8 times 9 gave me 72, plus 8 does give me 80. Okay, let's look at this one. This one says 11/12 divided by 2.5. 2.5 as an improper fraction. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So I'm going to rewrite that with a multiply sign. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of 5/2, which is 2/5. I can simplify, divide both 2 and 12 by 2. 11 times 1 is 11, and 6 times 5 is 30. So my answer is 11 over 30. Number 7, I've got to change both of these to improper fractions. So 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, divided by 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So now I am going to rewrite it as a multiplication of the reciprocal. I see that my 2's can both be divided by 2, leaving me with just 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 5 is 5. So my answer is 3/5. Okay, number 8. Leslie spent 3/4 of her time at the gym on the stair machine. She spent a total of 21 3/4 minutes on the stair machine. How long was Leslie at the gym? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the large value, the 21 3/4, whoops, sorry, and we're going to say, okay, 4 times 21 is 84, plus 3 is 87, and we're going to divide it by 3/4. So I've got to rewrite this as 87 over 4 times the reciprocal, and the 4's will simplify to 1 over 1. And when I multiply, I get 87 over 3. Now I've got to simplify that. So 3 goes into 8 2 times with 2 left over. 3 goes into 27 9 times. So she was at the gym for 29 minutes. Number 9, Juanita pours 41 1/4 ounces of water from a large pitcher into a bottle. That amount is 2/5 of the water in the pitcher. How much water was in the pitcher? So you're going to take this, turn it into an improper fraction. Okay, so 4 times 41, it's 164, plus 1 is 165 over 4, times the reciprocal of 2/5, or divided by 2/5. So the reciprocal is 5 over 2. So there's nothing that I can simplify, so I'm just going to multiply. 165 times 5 is 825. Okay, and 4 times 2 is 8. So now I'm going to say 8 can go into 8 1 times. 8 can go into 2 0 times. 8 can go into 25 3 times with 1 left over. So my answer is 103 1/8 ounces. Okay, number 10. A carpenter is cutting a board that is 8.5 feet long into 6 sections. What will the length of each section be? So the first thing we're going to do is turn 8.5 divided by 6 sections. So we're going to turn this into an improper fraction. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17. Change our divide to a multiply, and the reciprocal of 6 is 1/6. So there's nothing I can simplify, so I'm just going to multiply. 17 times 1 is 17. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 goes into 17 1 time with 5 left over. So my answer is 1 5/12. Number 11. A recipe calls for 2 3/4 cups of nuts for each person. And Tanya has 16.5 cups of nuts. How many people can she serve? So we're going to take the total and divide it by how much each person needs. So the first thing I need to do is change both of these into improper fractions. So 2 times 16 is 32, plus 1 is 33. Times, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So my fraction would be 11 over 4. I'm going to go ahead and do the reciprocal, which is 4 over 11. I do see that I can simplify. I can divide both 4 and 2 by 2. And I can divide 11 and 33 both by 11. And so that simplified my problem a ton. 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. So she can serve 6 people. Number 12. Lucas cooks 5 1/3 pounds of chicken. Each serving of chicken is 2/3 of a pound. How many servings did he cook? So I've got 5 1/3 divided by 2/3. So I'm going to change this into an improper fraction. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16, times the reciprocal. I can simplify. 3 and 3 can both be divided by 3. And 2 and 16 can both be divided by 2. So now I just multiply straight across. 8 times 1 is 8. 1 times 1 is 1. So she makes 8 servings. Number 13. Mrs. O'Connor is making placemats. She has 7/8 of a yard of fabric. She uses 1/4 of a yard to make 1 placemat. How many whole placemats can she make? So we've got 7/8 divided by 1/4. So I do nothing to the first one, change the divide to a multiply, and do the reciprocal. I see that 4 and 8 can both be divided by 4. So then I multiply across. 7 times 1 is 7 over 2. Then I'm going to change this back to a mixed number. So 2 goes into 7 3 times with 1 left over. So she can make 3 1/2 placemats, but the question asks how many whole placemats. So she can only make 3 whole placemats. Okay, our last question here. Mrs. Ryan is making lemonade. She has 3/4 of a gallon of water. She uses 1/6 of a gallon to make 1 glass of water. How many whole glasses can she make? So we've got 3/4 divided by 1/6. So I'm going to rewrite that as the reciprocal. Okay, I can simplify. 4 and 6 are both divisible by 2. So 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. So now I can just multiply across. 3 times 3, that's 9. 2 times 1, that's 2. If I change this back to a mixed number, I get 4 and 1/2. So how many whole glasses can she make? Our answer is 4.